stop everything right now because the NFL landscape has just been shaken in a way that feels bigger than a normal transaction, bigger than a routine trade alert, and bigger than the usual cycle of rumors and speculation, as Sidney Brown has officially been traded to the Dallas Cowboys in a move that instantly becomes one of the most talked about and emotionally charged decisions of the season. A move that speaks volumes about urgency, ambition, and belief, because this is not simply about acquiring a player, it is about changing a trajectory, changing a mentality, and changing how the Cowboys are perceived when the lights are brightest. And the moment the news broke, it felt like the air shifted across the league because everyone understands what this means. Dallas is no longer content with being dangerous, talented, or exciting. They are openly declaring that they want to be feared, respected, and dominant, and Sidney Brown represents all of that in one relentless, explosive, high motor package because his style of play is the kind that cannot be ignored, cannot be schemed away easily, and cannot be measured only by box score statistics. He is a presence, a disruptor, a defender whose impact is felt long before the final whistle. And when you bring that kind of player into a locker room that already has stars, expectations, and pressure, you are pouring gasoline on a competitive fire. And that is exactly what the Cowboys have done here. Because for years, Dallas has lived in the space between promise and fulfillment, between potential and payoff. Always good enough to be in the conversation, but never quite able to silence critics when it mattered most. And this trade feels like a response to that narrative, a direct answer to years of questions about toughness, edge, and closing ability, because Sidney Brown does not play passive football. He plays aggressive, intentional, emotionally charged football, the kind that sets a tone early and dares opponents to match it, and most cannot. And that is why this move resonates so deeply, because the Cowboys didn't just add depth or insurance. They added a mindset, a defender who thrives in chaos, who accelerates into contact, who sees opportunity where others see risk, and that mentality spreads. It infects teammates. It changes how practices are run, how meetings feel, and how games are approached. And from a strategic standpoint, this trade unlocks layers of creativity for the Cowboys defense because Brown's versatility allows coaches to disguise intentions, rotate coverages late, and apply pressure in unpredictable ways. And unpredictability is the currency of elite defenses because when quarterbacks hesitate even for a split second, that is the difference between a completion and a turnover, between extending a drive and changing the game. And Brown excels in those moments because he processes quickly, reacts decisively, and commits fully. And that is a dangerous combination, especially when paired with a pass rush that already commands attention because now offenses are forced into impossible choices. Focus on stopping pressure and leave the middle exposed, or protect the middle and allow chaos off the edge. And either way, the margin for error shrinks dramatically. And this is why the ripple effect of this trade extends far beyond Dallas, because every contender in the NFC is now reassessing matchups, game plans, and expectations, because the Cowboys just raised the physical standard. And in playoff football, physicality is often the deciding factor. Not flashy plays or highlight reels, but the ability to impose your will snap after snap. And Sidney Brown is built for that environment, built for cold nights, loud stadiums, and moments where one hit can change everything. And that is what makes this move feel so deliberate and so urgent, because Dallas clearly believes their window is open right now, not next year, not 2 years from now, but right now. And when a franchise acts with that level of conviction, it sends a message to the locker room that management believes in the players, believes in the coaches, and believes that the time for patience has passed. And belief is powerful in the NFL because it fuels confidence, accountability, and execution. And you can already imagine how this plays out on Sundays with Brown flying downhill, energizing the crowd, feeding off momentum, and elevating the intensity of everyone around him. Because players like him don't just make plays, they inspire them, and that inspiration is contagious, especially on defense where emotion and unity are everything. And it's also important to acknowledge the emotional weight of the departure for the team he left behind, because losing a player like Sidney Brown is not just about replacing snaps. It's about replacing leadership, toughness, and identity, and those things cannot be easily quantified or replaced through a single signing or draft pick, because Brown's impacts extended beyond the field into preparation, accountability, and standard setting. And when a player like that leaves, there is always an adjustment period, a recalibration of roles and expectations. And while the move may make sense from a long-term or strategic perspective, the short-term void is real. And fans feel it, teammates feel it, and opponents notice it. And that contrast only amplifies the significance of Dallas acquiring him, because while one team absorbs the loss, another absorbs the gain. And in this case, the Cowboys are absorbing a player who fits their needs, their identity, and their timeline almost perfectly. And the reaction from fans and media reflects that understanding, because this trade has been framed not as a gamble, but as a calculated strike, an aggressive but logical step toward contention. And while nothing in the NFL is guaranteed, what is clear is that Dallas has changed the conversation around itself, because this move reframes expectations, raises stakes, and puts pressure on the team to deliver, and that pressure is welcomed, embraced, and even sought after by organizations that believe they are ready. And the Cowboys are acting like a team that believes it is ready, because they are no longer hiding behind excuses or gradual progress. They are leaning into ambition. And Sidney Brown embodies that ambition with every snap he plays, because he is relentless, focused, and unapologetically physical. And as the season unfolds, every hit, every breakup, every moment of intensity will be magnified, analyzed, and debated, because this trade will be used as a reference point, a turning point, a moment when Dallas decided to push forward instead of standing still. And regardless of how the final chapter is written, this move has already altered the narrative, because the Cowboys are no longer waiting to see what happens. They are trying to make something happen. And in a league defined by parity and unpredictability, that kind of assertiveness stands out, and it demands attention. And that is why this trade feels bigger than just football, because it represents a philosophy, a willingness to act, and a belief that the difference between good and great is often found in moments like this, when a team decides to stop hoping and start attacking. And with Sidney Brown now wearing the star, the message is unmistakable. The Dallas Cowboys are coming with intensity, confidence, and force. And the rest of the NFL has officially been put on notice, because this was not just a trade, it was a declaration of intent.